For the guys that follow my YouTube channel, you will know that I have a real passion and love for rare motorcycles, numbered motorcycles, specials, and even unicorn bikes. And today behind me here, we have just one of these motorcycles, and I had to have it in my collection. I've been chasing one of these for 2 years because only 5 came to South Africa. And the bike I'm talking about, this is the Triumph Scrambler 1200, the limited edition Steve McQueen. Now, if you cast your mind back a couple of months, even a year ago, I did an episode on a Triumph Thruxton R I bought into my collection. The reason I had to have that bike, and I entitled that episode the Grand Slam. And Triumph doesn't produce many motorcycles in the green, and they call it competition green. Now, in my opinion, that is the correct British color, because green was the color all the British race cars had to wear in Formula One. If you think of Van Wall, Lotus, BRM, they all raced in that British racing green. Now, Triumph calls it the competition green, but they don't produce many motorcycles in that. So the Thruxton's main color were white, red, and silver, but I found a competition green Thruxton R. I called it the Grand Slam because it's a British bike in Triumph, named after a very famous British racetrack, the Thruxton, and then the British racing green in competition green. Now here today I have the Triumph Scrambler 1200, and like I said, not just any Scrambler 1200, this is the top of the range, the highest spec 1200 Scrambler ever produced, and it is because it is the limited edition Steve McQueen, only 1,000 produced. But let me in this episode go through what makes this bike so special. Here you can see what makes this bike so special, and go through what makes it different to your standard Scrambler 1200. Before I'm going to go look at the bike in detail and the specs. Now, back in the 50s and 60s, Triumph were the original pioneers when it came to the desert sled and scrambler, and with millions of pictures of Steve McQueen jumping and flying through the air on his Triumph TR6. It's definitely a cult status bike, and what better than to put a tribute bike on such a, let's call it, premium dual-purpose classic adventure scrambler crossover motorcycle. It has this really iconic silhouette of a scrambler with that exhaust, and I mean that exhaust is a standard how the bike get delivered. This is not an aftermarket exhaust. And then taking the top of the range 1200, the most premium model, and you have everything on this bike. You have the comfort of an adventure bike, so superior comfort. You've got the 21-inch front wheel, proper competent 250mm suspension travel front and rear. You have Brembo brakes front and rear. You have state-of-the-art technology with full color TFT, 6 rider modes. You have cornering ABS, you have LED lights, keyless starts, everything in one package. And then on top of that, you make it numbered, individualized, you give it unique branding, you give it that exclusive competition green paint job, and the highest spec accessories out of the catalog come standard on this. And on top of that, you get a certificate with Nick Bloor, the CEO of Triumph, signature on it, Chad McQueen. I mean, does it get better than that? But I'm getting carried away here. Let me go through the basic specs on the Triumph Scramblers. when you look at Triumph Scramblers, you obviously get the Scrambler 1200 as we have in front of us here, but then you get the smaller Scrambler 900 and just recently launched the Scrambler 400, which is really cool because now when you enter the biking lifestyle and you're a novice, you can get onto a Scrambler 400 and just grow and stay on the brand. When it comes to the Scrambler 1200, you get the XC, which is the more road-focused, less suspension travel, or the top of the range, the Scrambler 1200 XE, which this is based on, which is the more hardened, hardcore focused top spec bike. And that comes with the maximum 250mm suspension travel, front and rear, 21-inch wheel. So really off-road competent. Now, it's a class-defining scrambler, in my opinion, and a leader when it comes to this desert sled scrambler look and the iconic silhouette, even with this high-mounted exhaust being standard on this motorcycle. Now, this Steve McQueen, only 1,000 units produced, is based on the XE and it shares the same motor. So starting off with a motor, you have a 4-stroke parallel twin single overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder, 1200cc liquid cooled. Now if you see cleverly, the radiator is vertical so it doesn't protrude and it's actually hidden. So from the side you see the fins of the motor. It does look traditional, air cooled with this period appropriate colored spark plug cap. The airbox looks stunning. Now this motor puts out 90 horsepower, not shabby, which is just over 66 kilowatts at 7,250 RPM. But what makes this interesting for me is that the torque is higher than the power. Your torque is 110 newton meters at a super low 4,500 RPM, and that's what makes this thing so much fun and so rideable. Now that all goes through a wet multiplate clutch with torque assist, which is brilliant by Triumph, 6-speed gearbox, final drive chain. When it comes to the suspension, you have the upside down showers, fully adjustable 47mm with a travel of 250 as mentioned, the rear travel 250, and you have the dual springs Öhlins. Now besides being Öhlins top spec, those gold reservoirs just look fantastic with the front gold forks offset with that competition green. Now together with that 250mm travel front and rear, you have a 21-inch wheel up front, shod with a 90, a 36 spoke aluminium wheel. Proper 21-inch wheel, that's where your competence comes. 17-inch traditional wheel shod with a 150 32 spoke at the rear. Now in front, when it comes to brakes, also attention to detail. You've got dual discs, 320mm disc, the proper M50 calipers by Brembo. Going to the back, a single disc, 255 millimeters, and a 2-piston floating Brembo at the rear, ABS front and back. Now when you go to the seat height, fairly tall bike at 870 millimeters, and the weight is quite a hefty 230 kilos wet weight. But once you get going, it's a slim bike and quite a nimble bike, wide handlebars, so that is hidden quite nicely. That stunning fuel tank, tall, high mounted above that bench seat, carries 16 liters. Now this Steve McQueen Scrambler is not Triumph's first Steve McQueen tribute bike, but in my opinion the most beautiful. And where the story starts, it's obviously inspired by the 1963 World War II classic film The Great Escape, in which Steve McQueen jumps the fence out of Germany, and Steve McQueen chose a competition spec Triumph TR6 above a period correct German motorcycle to do that stunt with, and absolutely iconic movie star and brilliant theme to spec a bike like this on. Now correctly, they spec'd it on the highest spec bike, the 1200 XE, and that particular bike is a class defining on off-road bike. So, and they've just taken it to the next level. Now what makes this Steve McQueen edition so special? Each bike comes with an individually numbered plaque on top. It's a billet machined clamp up on top here, laser etched Steve McQueen signature, your number, this number here being 0171 of 1000. Now, you cannot reproduce or replicate this because you cannot get any parts from Triumph unless you quote your VIN number. Now, together with that, you get a unique certificate of authenticity, and that certificate carries the VIN number of the bike, also a signature by the Triumph CEO Nick Bloor, as well as Chad McQueen, the son of Steve McQueen. So all of that on your certificate, I'll blend that in. Then with that, you get that unique paint scheme. The British, or I call it a British race green, but it's a Triumph calls it a competition green. Then you get this brushed foil knee pads, the exquisite hand painted gold pinstriping around, and if you look behind the seat where the tank comes down, you actually get the initials of the guys that did that. Then you get the Heritage Triumph logo in gold, also absolutely stunning and looks the part. Dedicated Steve McQueen graphics on the petrol tank over here, super cool looking. Now with that, you also get this high mounted aluminium mudguard. Now standard, it has the low brushed aluminium mudguard, the XE, and this particular bike comes standard with the high aluminium guard painted in the competition green. Your rear aluminium mudguard is also painted in the competition green. You get these engine protection desert bars to protect both sides in case you fall over. The laser cut aluminium radiator guard up front is also a standard for this bike, and to finish it off, this premium brown seat at the back. Now you got to hand it to the guys, the color combination of the competition green, the gold accents, the brushed exhaust with the brushed knee pads, and that brown seat is absolutely exquisite. So from a cosmetic pure looks point of view, it's 11 out of 10 for me on this bike. Being limited, being such an iconic movie star, and the bike just has the stance of a movie star. This motorcycle is just such a joy to ride. If you look, I am sitting ultra uber comfortable, slim this bike. I'm sitting upright. There is absolutely no rider fatigue on a bike like this. That bench style seat is high but not too high, firm but not too firm. It's not quite as soft as a full adventure bike, but the tank, the waist of this bike is slim. You can tuck your knees in, your thighs are sloping down both sides, your handlebars are high enough, the handlebar rises over here and they come back enough so I'm not leaning forward, my elbows are bent. It's just all round, it's magnificent. The cockpit's cool, it's retro modern. I prefer this clock to the square or rectangular TFTs all the bikes have today. This is more unique, and with a glare like this, you just grab that clock, pull it back, and you adjust it. So you can set it flat or up towards you. Your rider modes over here, your fuel, your temperature, everything is on this display. These controls are so familiar, Triumph. It's all round. The engine is smooth, it's got those vibrations, the parallel twin, it's just brilliant. The gearbox is smooth, crisp. You know exactly when it's in. It's not too smooth like butter that you don't know. It's got that little bit of a clunk that you know it's in, but it's smooth. The levers work. Everything about this bike just speaks to me. I love these mirrors. They blacked out, but they're retro in this round look. The guards on the hands, everything is thought of. It's nearly like your Christmas wish list. If you got an accessories catalog on a motorcycle and you marked everything you want for Christmas, and they put this bike under the Christmas tree, all of your accessories, all of your wishes have been answered with a bike like this. That's pretty much how I feel about a bike as cool as this Scrambler. I mean, the Scrambler 1200 to start off with, the XE, is a brilliant machine. This Steve McQueen edition. You're sitting here, you've got this clamp telling you you're riding something very unique, exquisite. This Scrambler graphics on the tank here, constant reminder that it's something special. Ride it nicely. You don't want gravel rash or stone chips on this bike. You don't want to put it on down on the road. It's respect it, but enjoy it. This is unbelievable. The torque on this motor, you roll on top gear, this retro looking round dial with analog looking but in a LCD display. It's brilliant. It works for me. And everything about this bike, the rear view mirrors look past my shoulders, the speed, the sensation. Now the one thing, if you fussy, yes, wind in the hair, there's no screen, there's no wind protection, but that's not what Scramblers were designed for. Scramblers were a little bit of a on off-road MX bike that has road capabilities, and that's what this bike is all about. The one I tested, that blue 1200 XC, had the OEM screen that you can fit, and that really worked well. That is something if you're going on longer rides. But for me, when it comes to something like this, you just want to take it around and just dawdle around, wind in the hair, and have the full feel of it. It is stunning. The one thing, this high exhaust on the side, 2x2 over here, it does get warm. So if you're standing here and you've got your leg tight up against it, you can feel it, but it's not hot that it burns you, but you can feel it's warm. The minute you get going, it's totally acceptable. There's the wind flows past, it's fine. And if you want to, in slow traffic, you just move your knee out slightly and it works well. My feet flat on the floor. It is a bit of a stretch, so more comfortable. Just put the balls of my foot down and off we go. The footrests are like down here. It's a sporty but a high feel. It's just all round very flickable bike. Lovely little bike. Not so little, but it's brilliant. It's something that ticks all my boxes, and I mean, that's what we're all about. I'm an enthusiast, I'm not a journalist, so we're all different as human beings. This is not everybody's cup of tea, but if you love the British motorcycles, if you love the Scrambler, if you love the theme bikes, iconic bikes, this must definitely rate as one of the best. And when it comes to just the Scrambler experience by Triumph, fantastic. I cannot wait to go for that test ride and review of the brand new Scrambler 400. I haven't done that yet, but the 900 was also an absolute brilliant machine. I enjoyed that, and I said, if you want to feel like Steve McQueen, not knowing about this one yet, I said with the Scrambler 900, if you want to feel like Steve McQueen, this is the bike for you. So all around, I mean, as an enthusiast, I cannot fault this bike. I love this bike as it is. I wouldn't change anything about it. I'm not going to add anything to the bike. I'm going to leave it stock standard as it is. If you see, the mileage on this bike is 329 kilometers. I've done about, I think, 70 or 80 kilometers on the bike. I just received it a couple of days ago, bought it a week or two ago, and 2 years I've been chasing, only 5 in South Africa. So something really special. This bike is such a stunning blend of classic, retro, new, modern, and that's why it ticks my boxes. When you look at the motor, you see the fins, you see that spark plug cap. It does look like it's got carburetors in the airbox behind that motor. That radiator is so well disguised, if you want to call it, the way they fitted it. So from the motor, it does look like old school, but from the riding and from the comfort of pushing the button, start button, and not kick starting, that's where it's the perfect cross between classic, retro and new. If you look at this clock, for example, you've got that round analog looking dash. You don't have the rectangular one that all the modern bikes come out with, but it has that LCD TFT display look with it, and it's all like digital, that analog pointer going around. You have tucked in neatly on the sides. your rider modes, you've got everything. You've got your rider aids, ABS, traction control, your rain modes, your Enduro Off-Road Pros, just all round. You've got that iconic silhouette. So cosmetically, when you're walking up to it, the silhouette, the looks, the motor, the everything, it does speak of classic retro. But then when you get on it and ride it, it has all the creature comfort and safety features of a modern bike. So you get the best of both worlds, in my opinion, and that's why I'm such a big fan of this motorcycle. Now, even the way with the graphics on the Triumph, on the tank badge on the side with that gold, the old school harking back heritage logo, it's those little details, attention to details, that make a bike like this so special. And this is not just a wannabe Steve McQueen limited edition. This is properly endorsed by the Steve McQueen Foundation and by the great actor's son, Chad McQueen. He has signed that certificate of authenticity with the CEO, Nick Bloor. So, I mean, you're getting the real deal. And this is just a theme bike with a purpose, a stance, attitude. It has everything. And I must say, I feel like it's Christmas, Easter, New Year and my birthday all rolled into one, that I managed to get one of these with such low mileage. So it's not even run in, it's pretty much brand new. And thanks again to Rob from Triumph Sampton for making that true. In the next week, I'll be doing the final assembly of that custom Triumph I've been building. That is the Triumph Rocket 3R that I'm building, a custom tribute bike to my AC Cobra. So it's a Rocket Cobra Triumph, and I think everything's been done from paint, anodizing, cerakoting, all the customizing has been done, the wheels have been done. The last thing we're doing is the rear wheel. We're replicating the Halibrand with a spinner, and I just did some safety modification because that Rocket is obviously extremely powerful and quick motorcycle. I wanted to ensure that that spinner at the back does not come off. So those are the final little tweaks we're busy doing, and I think in the next week we will be doing final assembly, and I'll be sharing that episode with you. So guys, I hope you want to follow me for that one and join me on that final journey. And then when I get into the warehouse, I will do a walk around with the AC Cobra and that Rocket side by side, same as I will be doing with the Steve McQueen and my competition green Thruxton R. So exciting things coming up. I think I'm getting my keys in the next 10 to 14 days for that warehouse. We will go through that, and some serious interesting times coming ahead for Route 21 Garage. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this look and quick review of the Triumph Scrambler Steve McQueen limited edition. Stunning little motorbike added to the collection. And if you enjoyed this episode, guys, remember, hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, and most important of all, please hit that subscribe button to help me build the channel. And if you like, the reminder bell, so you always know when I'm uploading something new, and you will be the first to see the final build of that Triumph Rocket 3 Cobra.